Institute, self-paced modules, and field placements. Laura Floyd has over 30 years management experience in continuing professional education, program planning, applied practice experience, advertisement, workforce development and training, and health education in the university, nonprofit organization, and membership association settings. So now we welcome Laura.
Let me get myself unmuted there. Thank you, Kaylin. And it's Laura Lloyd with an L, so 2 L's on the last name. So I appreciate the introduction. Can y'all hear me okay and see my slides? Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me a few minutes on your agenda. As Kaylin mentioned, I am the Associate Director of the Region 4 Public Health Training Center, and it's our pleasure to bring you today's session called Thriving Through Change, presented by Shaylin Merlin. Before the session begins, I just wanted to share a little bit about the Region 4 Public Health Training Center. We are a member of a consortium of 10 HRSA-funded regional public health training centers and the country's most comprehensive resource for public health workforce development. Each of the 10 regional training centers serves a different HHS region in the country, which you can see on the map in the upper right-hand corner. Collectively, we help public health professionals build the core skills and strategic competencies necessary to address current and future public health challenges. The Region 4 Public Health Training Center serves the 8 states in the Southeast, and as you can see from the bottom map, our central office is located at the Rollins School of Public Health at Emory University, and we work with 7 community-based training partners and 3 technical assistance providers to serve the entire region. I think there are folks on the call today who are outside of Region 4. So I wanted to include a link here on this page that provides contact information for the other regional public health training centers around the country. Although we all have slightly different offerings, we're committed to helping develop public health professionals. And so I'm going to include that in the chat box right now so that you can check out which one might be yours in your region. In line with our national goal as the Region 4 Public Health Training Center, we help build and sustain a skilled workforce with free learning tools and support designed to meet the unique needs of professionals in state, local, and tribal public health departments and tribal health organizations within our 8 states. We offer professional development for the workforce, and you can see the types of activities we offer. Experiential learning for students where, for example, public health students could be placed in a tribal health department or health organization and help work on that agency's mission and goals, and consulting and technical assistance to health departments. I wanted to highlight just a few of our training offerings. These are all free, and with the exception of the Public Health Leadership Institute, they're open to participants from anywhere in the country. The first is our Public Health Practice Academies. We used to offer these as all-day in-person workshops that were hosted at a health department, but we've modified these because of COVID and are offering them now as 2 to 3 hour online workshops. We offer a range of topics, including conflict management, data analysis, and you can see the other topics there, and persuasive communication, which, by the way, Shayna presents for us. These are, again, all free and generally open to all. We try to provide priority to Region 4 participants, but we've had people from around the country take part in them. We have also had offered them exclusively to a single health department. So if your tribal health department or tribal health organization wants one of these hosted for your staff, reach out to me and let me know, and we'll work on something together. The other highlight I wanted to share was the Public Health Leadership Institute. This is an 8-month course for emerging leaders from state, local, and tribal health departments or tribal health organizations to advance adaptive and strategic leadership skills that are needed to work on those social, community-based, and economic determinants of health. Topics include things like adaptive leadership, cultural competence, leading change. We are currently in our 3rd cohort, and altogether in our first 3 cohorts, we've had 4 fellows from USET, and Keisha is one of them, yay, and 5 from tribal nations in Region 4. This is the offering I mentioned that is exclusive to participants from our region, but other regions may have other leadership trainings available. The last highlight is our 90-minute webinars. These address priority and emerging health issues in our region. You can see that Shayna's Thriving Through Change session was one of the webinars we offered and was quite successful. We have several webinar themes, including childhood obesity, mental health, opioid misuse and abuse, and HIV/AIDS. But of course, we've offered many webinars on COVID. Nearly all of our webinars are recorded and available on our website. Speaking of which, I encourage you to check out our website and particularly take a look at our training catalog. You can find a plethora of free on-demand webinars, as well as our upcoming 2 to 3 hour online skill-based workshops. I mentioned those public health practice academies. And with that, I want to thank you again for letting me tell you a little bit more about our training center. Probably don't have time to answer your questions here, but please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions, or if you are interested in one of the trainings I mentioned. My contact information is on the agenda shared last week, and I'm about to plot that as well as our website link into the chat box. And with that, I will turn it back over to Kaylin. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, Laura, for that helpful information. So now I will introduce our speaker for our webinar. So we brought our next speaker here because she does things a little differently. We wanted to do something interactive for you all so that you would be engaged and entertained. And so Shayna Merlin has been doing this kind of work with teams at Fortune 500 companies, medical schools, hospitals, nursing conferences, medical societies, and more. She is an associate at the Center for Health Communication and the University of Texas at Austin, and an instructor there at the Dell Medical School. Her TEDx talk, Why Your Doctor Should Be an Improviser, was just released in 2021. The more you put into the webinar, the more you will get out of it. So I want to encourage you to type in the chat window, turn on your cameras, plug in your headphones, and get ready to participate. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Miss Shayna Merlin. Let's welcome her with some applause, some smiles.
You can click the applause button. You can there's all kinds of ways you can give me some applause. Hello, everyone. So nice to see everybody here. I get to work with lots of organizations. I'm doing a training with Oracle this afternoon, but it is my honor and pleasure to work with people in public health. I so value the work that you do, and I think everyone is kind of waking up to the value that y'all bring to our society. And I know y'all are busy and overwhelmed, so I'm very grateful for any time you carve out to come to a training and invest in yourself. My name is Shayna Merlin. I'm going to be leading our training today. As you can see, I've renamed myself phonetically because my name is a little tricky to pronounce. So if you have a name, or if you're joined in as a phone number, or maybe it's your spouse's iPad or your kid's, tablet or whatever, if you can rename yourself to whatever you'd like to be called, because this is going to be interactive, and using names is a way I can really engage everybody. So if you need to correct your name or make it phonetic or anything like that, feel free to do that now or at any point during the session. And yes, this is going to be a very participatory session. You can't tell yet, but it's about to be. It's about to be. I see people have let me know, okay, my camera's not working, my phone's not working. We're going to do the best to accommodate everyone as much as possible. Just participate to your ability and your comfort level. But if you do need to, move that laundry basket or put those pants on, whatever you need to do to get ready to turn on your camera and be ready to participate, or put those headphones in because you got dogs barking, whatever it is, make sure you do that now so we can participate more in the session. And today is all about thriving through change, becoming a resilient leader in the midst of constant flux. And I want to do a little activity to introduce myself. They read my introduction very nicely, but here's a little bit more about what I do when I'm not here with you all in trainings. What I'd like you to do in the chat window is to guess what line of work I'm in. And here's the description on the screen of what kind of work I do. In my line of work, we don't have enough information. We don't have enough resources. Things are constantly changing and we don't have enough time to adjust to everything. And we're also required to produce very public and successful results as a team. So what industry, what line of work does that describe? Who has to work without enough time, information, and resources? Who has to deal with constant change? Who has to produce public successful results? Okay, Yvette says, oh, and thank you for phonetically saying that. Yvette says a medical person, a frontline medical worker, education. Yeah, Kelly says, that sounds like my job. Yeah, raise your hand if you're like, I don't have enough time, information, resources. I'm always kind of making it up and figuring it out. Yes, thank you. Yeah, educator. Yes, all our teachers have been pushed beyond this year. So they're all in that situation. But most organizations, whether I work with marketing or tech or medical, they all say their job sounds like this. And they say it's a really stressful way to work without enough time, information, and resources, with things constantly changing, have to work as a team. But I find that a really fun way to work, because what I do is I do improv comedy. So most weekends I'm on the stage, finally back again on stage, making up scenes and stories and songs and dances on the spot with my friends in front of an audience. It's a ton of fun, but we're also working without enough time, information, resources. Things are constantly changing. We have to produce public successful results, right? So what I do when I'm not on stage with my friends is I'm here with different groups and organizations using the tools and techniques from the world of improvisational theater to help people be more resilient, more present, better communicators, have more fun at work, be better team members, all those kinds of things. So we're going to be pulling from that world and other worlds in our Thriving Through Change workshop today. I thought I saw some smiles. Is there anybody here that does improv? Any improvisers in the house, or anybody seen like Whose Line Is It Anyway? You've seen something like that, maybe on YouTube or on TV? Yeah, that's the kind of stuff I do for fun. Okay, Tracy likes that show. Great. So this is going to be interactive. The more you put in, the more you'll get out. I'm prepared to do my Shane and Merlin radio show, but I like it better when we all get to play together. So we're going to do this next. We're going to take this pledge. And what's going to happen in a moment is we're all going to turn on our microphones, and we're all going to say this, like read it aloud, like we're all in church, like reading out loud together. And Zoom is terrible with audio. It's going to be messy, and things are going to be cutting off, and we're just going to embrace the chaos and the change and the messiness of it all, because that's what it is. So if you feel comfortable, you can put your hand over your heart, and everybody turn on your microphones and read with me. I promise that I will
stay present
and participate
fully in this session.
For better or worse,
On my laptop and tablet,
silliness and seriousness,
till the internet connection
part.
part.
All right, mute yourself again and give yourselves a hand. We've got real applause. We've got virtual applause as well. So great, we're here. It's not going to be too long. It's going to be another kind of hour and a half. We're going to try and kind of be as present as we can to share as much and get as much as we can out of this time. All right, so let's talk about what the world is like these days and why we need to thrive through change, because a good word to use to describe this current world we are in is VUCA. VUCA. It is a word that came from a military background to describe military situations, but has since been used in a lot of business situations and has a lot of applicability. And that is, we are working in a world that is volatile, uncertain, chaotic, and ambiguous. right? And all of us in the pandemic have really been thrust into this world where it's like we have to plan for things not knowing what's coming. There's these waves we are riding. There's, all kinds of, we don't have all the information we need when we have to be making decisions. And it can be a really difficult, as we've all experienced, way to operate. How do you provide public health with so many unknowns? So much is changing, so much is revising all the time. Well, many of us kind of have two responses. We go into control or collapse. And maybe you'll recognize yourself in this. So some of us who like to go into control when things get VUCA, they get uncertain and chaotic, we go, okay, I'm gonna make a list. I'm gonna get things done. I'm gonna figure this out. I'm gonna nail this down. I'm gonna do my research. I'm gonna, all that stuff. That was my response when schools were closed. I was like, I'm gonna make my own school. I'm gonna recruit families and hire a teacher and figure, because I can't trust. I don't know if school's gonna be open or not. And I can't handle that uncertainty. So I'm just gonna make my own school. Or you might go into collapse, which is like, I can't solve a global pandemic. Like, what are you gonna, like, throwing up your hands and just being like, I think I'll take a nap on this one, right? Like, what can be done? It seems it's such an overwhelming problem. So I'm gonna open up a poll right now to see. Although all of us kind of have both, probably could recognize both of those responses. I'm curious, which one do you think is your kind of default when things get uncertain, chaotic, ambiguous, volatile? Do you tend to go into control mode? And you want to start cleaning your house or something, or telling people what to do? Or do you tend to go into collapse mode? Oh yeah, and Kelly's saying, I flip back and forth. That's totally natural and great. And if you can't see the poll or you want to chime in on the chat, that's an excellent way to participate. Okay, so I've got 13 of 27, and let's see if I can get a few more people to chime in on this poll. I know some people are on their phones. I might not be able to. Susan says both. Stephen says usually control, but I collapse from time to time. Right, a lot of control and then collapse. I had this with a friend of mine. She goes into control and her husband goes into collapse. So during COVID, they're just like, she's like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm doing nothing. Okay, so looks like we've have a lot of people in this group. 92% go into control and 8% go into collapse, which is not surprising for y'all's line of work, right? Y'all are helpers, you're caregivers, you're trying to make it work. Yeah, Yvette says control till that doesn't work. Collapse a moment and then try to find a laugh. Can you tell me how to get to Sesame Street? Nice. Okay. So yeah, and today is a lot about kind of exploring your own responses to these situations and seeing if you might be able to try some new ways to responding to these situations. So one thing that I'll propose is, instead of going into control or collapse, we might be able to go into creative, finding that middle space, right? Instead of trying to control everything, trying to give up and not do anything, can we find that middle space to be creative? For me, when my kids were home from school for so long, that moment happened. I was like, wait, they can do things this year that they wouldn't normally be able to do in a regular classroom. Like, we can write music and we can go on hikes and these things that maybe, are a creative solution, as opposed to just trying to replicate school at home. And one more thing I want to talk about whenever we do this thriving through change stuff. So one emphasis is going to be about moving into creativity. But I always, whenever you have these workshops about like work-life balance or how to deal with uncertainty or things like this, these are, it's important to remember what the difference is between a problem and a dilemma. I just learned this a few years ago. Does anybody here know what the difference between a problem and a dilemma is? Anybody want to turn on their microphone and give a swing at what's the difference between a problem and a dilemma?
Is it that you can maybe fix a problem but not a dilemma?
Yes.
Oh.
Problems have solutions. Dilemmas are things that you're always going to be figuring out, rebalancing, adjusting. You find something that works for a little while and then it doesn't. And I think, dealing with change and chaos is a dilemma. So you're not going to come out of today's workshop and be like, now I'm perfectly comfortable with uncertainty in my life. No, that's not a realistic outcome, because it's not a problem to be solved. It's part of human condition, and it's something, but we can get tools that might help us get some different mindsets, get some different approaches to it. But I just want to set some accuracy for what our expectations are for today's workshop. It's a dilemma. Like a lot of good issues are. Okay, so we have an ambitious agenda today. We may or may not get to all of this, but we have 4 things we're going to try and cover. The first is about making friends with failure and changing our relationship with mistakes as a pathway to being more comfortable with the unknown and uncertainty. Second, we're going to build some tools for resilience and buoyancy. How can we bounce back more quickly? The setbacks are going to happen. That's a certainty. How can we recover more quickly and save time that we're not just dwelling or regretting? We're going to get into iterative processes. How can we be more action-oriented? How can we be up for testing things and piloting things and trying things, even if we don't know exactly how it's going to turn out? And we'll get into a little bit of self-care with this growth cycle of understanding how we need rest as well as stress and fuel to make it through our days. We're going to have some Q&A at the end of the session, but of course, any time during the session, if we're talking about something, you want to bring up a question, an example, anything like that, please feel free to do that. Great. So let's make friends with failure, shall we? Let's do this. Before we get into, because we're about to share some mistakes, I'd like to head to the chat window and just invite you to introduce yourself. I know some people already did introduce themselves at the beginning, but if you could share your role, your name, your role, your location, that would be really fun, so we can kind of get to know. Great. Tracy Wind, health educator at the Seneca Nation Health System. And also, I'm hoping to show you guys some tools for interactive virtual trainings. So I know a lot of you are working with your own communities over Zoom, so hopefully you can steal some of from my bag of tricks as well. Hi, Chris, a grants manager at, okay, I gotta, forgive me for my pronunciation, Penobscot Nation, Old Town, Maine. Wow. I'm here in Austin, Texas, so Maine sounds really far away. Heather Ward, health planner at the Seneca Nation Health System. Welcome, Brianna. Welcome, Amanda. Welcome, Kelly. Welcome, Stephen. Hi, Jocelyn. Hi, Yvette. Wonderful. Great. Heather's here. Yeah, we got some Northeastern people here. Excellent. Welcome, Jason. Welcome, Jody. Welcome, Megan. Hi, Tamika. Hi, Susan. Okay, great. Excellent. It's nice to hear a little bit about you all. And also, hopefully this can be a resource for each other. So if you see somebody whose role sounds interesting or is a relationship you want to build, make sure you jot that down and reach out to them as well. Hi, Denise. Welcome. So for this next activity, we are going to all put our cameras on. If you have a camera, I want to invite you to put your camera on for this activity because it's going to be visual. If you don't have a camera, you can do this in the chat window. That's totally fine as well. So I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to put everyone, I have you all in grid view so I can see the Brady Bunch boxes of everybody. And that's okay, Jocelyn. I hear you have no camera. You can participate in the chat window. Thank you for letting me know. So I want you to give me a thumbs up if you know the days of the week. If you feel confident, yeah, I know the days of the week. I'm feeling pretty good. Heather was ready. She's there. Amanda knows. Okay, good. Yep, great. Tracy, you're good. You're in there in the chat. Great. Okay, that's the first round of this is a quiz about the days of the week. So what's going to happen when I say go is you're going to turn on your microphone. You're going to say the days of the week out loud in order. And when you're done, you're going to lift up your hand. So we all know that you finished. All right, it's very simple. Round one's pretty simple. You're going to turn on your microphone, say the days of the week in order out loud, and when you're done, lift your hand up. We'll have more complication in round two. All right, give me a thumbs up if you're ready. Okay, turn on your microphone and begin. Also chat in the chat.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
That's always fun. Great. Jocelyn got it in the chat window. Excellent. Y'all did wonderful at that. Wonderful participation. And you're right. You do know your days of the week. Well done. Give me a thumbs up if you know your alphabet. Amika knows her alphabet. Okay. Jason knows his alphabet. Excellent. Okay. Round two. It's going to be a little more challenging. You can do this in the chat window, but for if you got your camera, I want you to do it out loud. Round two, you're going to turn on your microphone in a moment. You're going to say the days of the week out loud in alphabetical order. You're going to say the days of the week out loud in alphabetical order. And when you're done, you're going to raise your hand. Ready? Turn on your microphone and begin.
Monday, Wednesday, Thursday,
Friday,
Tuesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Thursday,
Saturday, Sunday. Saturday, Sunday. Ooh.
Thursday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Well done. I'll give you a hint. It does start with Friday. It does end with Wednesday. Great. And that's a little harder than you'd think, right? Yeah. So what I'm curious about is what feelings, thoughts came up for you in round two. If you were, when you heard the assignment, if you were stumbling, if you got something wrong, head to the chat window and let me know, how did that feel? Oops. Feel overwhelmed, yes. Flustered. Megan, I needed to write them down. Megan, can I ask you to unmute? Did you end up writing them down?
I didn't. Everyone was like way too ahead of me.
Yeah.
I'm like, I need to write them down and I can't. I don't have time.
Okay. It's always interesting. So you're like, okay, I know a strategy for me that would work, but you're comparing yourself to other people that are going faster and going, I can't do that.
Yes.
Distracted by the chaos, says David. Yeah, you're trying to think and you've got all this noise going on, stressed and flustered. Oh, Denise looked at the calendar hanging on the wall. Yvette says, I have a learning disability, so I knew I could not do it without paper and pen, and the others were done before I got them down. Okay. Yvette, can I ask, did you finish?
No. I started to just write the first initial, like M, T,
Mm-hmm.
and people were already like, and I'm like, I can't do it. I will not be able to do this. It's not going to happen. And I could stress completely out, give up and leave, or I can just be quiet and nobody knows. I didn't know I had a learning disability until I went to college the second time. And then I did not understand it at all until I was tested a second time. So I have a huge amount of shame trigger around it. Huge. Mm-hmm. But see, to me, that was a good job on my part because I didn't go into shame. I didn't just struggle.
Right.
I was like, it's okay. It's like a game.
Yeah. You took care of yourself. You didn't go down that spiral. And that's kind of part of why I did, I mean, it's a silly activity, but it's an activity that we are forced to combine familiar information in a new way. And that often triggers us feelings about comparing ourselves to others, and starts having thoughts about not just this activity, but about us as people. Starts giving us, some people get really mad when I do this activity and they're like, I hate these kinds of things. I hate you. Why are you making me do this? Some people are bail. They quit. They stop. Some people race to it. Some people cheat. Some people like Friday, Monday, Wednesday. There's all kinds of reactions. And what this can be is a little insight into your mindset, insight into growth mindset and fixed mindset. So I'm going to share this slide. And on the left hand, it has some examples of a fixed mindset when you are making mistakes. So you might think something like, I'm either good at it or I'm not, and I'm just not good at this kind of thing. So I stay away from it. When I'm frustrated, I give up. I either can do it or can't. My abilities are unchanging. This is not, I don't like to be challenged. Feedback and criticism are personal. I like to stick to what I know. So you might have had some of those thoughts come up. Or we have on the right side of the screen kind of an example of what a growth mindset response to this activity might be. I think of this as like what a second grader might feel like in response to this, where they go, oh, can I do it one more time and I'll do it faster? Or, okay, after we do days of the weeks, can we do months? They are used to not knowing everything. They are used to messing up all the time. And they are excited and interesting in challenges. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And we were all those ways at some point in time. So some of it's a little bit of a return to that growth mindset. So failure is an opportunity to grow. So you mess up at this and you go, ooh, I've got some learning to do. This is going to be exciting. Or I can learn to do anything I want. It's just going to take a little time. It's going to take a little practice. It's going to take a little effort. Challenges help me grow. My effort and attitude determine my abilities. Feedback is constructive. I'm inspired by the success of others. So I think a lot of us did not feel inspired when everybody was finishing so quickly, right? We feel intimidated. We feel overwhelmed, and just feel like I like to try new things. So it's interesting to kind of just take a look at yourself and where you might fit on this fixed and growth mindset spectrum. Now, it's a spectrum, so it's not like you're a growth mindset person or a fixed mindset person. You might have feeling different way at different situations. And I think if I haven't already, if it's not, I think it's going to be shared with you in a post email. There's a whole little like continuum, and you can look at different situations and what your mindset is like. This is just a little snapshot of that to kind of, if you're interested in kind of exploring what your mindset is. The thing about fixed mindset is it doesn't help us respond well to this VUCA world. What it does is it forces us to shrink our world so it's small enough that we know how to do everything in it. And if we want to grow and thrive through change, we want to try and have that growth mindset where we are open to experiences that we may not totally have mastered or understand, that might take effort. And you get to decide. You get to decide how big your bubble is. And it's interesting because I used to teach this a lot before the pandemic, and I was really encouraging everyone to like expand that world and take more risks and be open to failure. But now everybody's world is so chaotic that sometimes you need to, get that world to be small and do the things that, this is why we like to do puzzles during the pandemic or bake bread. It's very small, it's contained, it's clear, it's controllable. Whereas other parts of our jobs are not. I do think that we can think about how we all started, and we are we were all determined to learn. So this is me sneaking in a picture of my 9-year-old when he was 18 months. That's Sebastian. But, I love the example of, you don't see a toddler get up and try and walk and fall and go, well, I guess that was just not meant to be a walker, right? Like they know they have to fall thousands of times before they're going to master that skill. And the same is that we all went through that, and you probably have seen those kids where it's like you try and feed them and they're like, give me that spoon. I want to feed myself terribly. Right. So we want to kind of explore returning to some of that mindset and a little bit of that self-compassion that goes along with it of like, of course you don't know what you're doing working in public health during a global pandemic. Like who, of course, right? Thank y'all. Yes, he is pretty cute. So one way that we, our mindsets get involved is when we get negative feedback, when something doesn't go well, when we fail at something. If we have a fixed mindset, we tend to take it as personal, pervasive, and permanent. So I think, Yvette, this is kind of that spiraling that you said you did not do. This is an example of actually doing that spiraling. So if you're doing the days of the week and you're not getting it seemingly as quickly as other people, you could start thinking about it personally. I am so dumb. What's wrong with me? Why can't I do this? Other people can do this and I can't. That's taking it personally. We're just playing a game about the alphabet. But if you take it personally, you start making it about who you are as a person, right? And you make it pervasive. Not only do I stink at this activity, but I stink at all activities. I stink at my job. I stink at my family. I stink, right? And then you make it permanent. And there's nothing I can ever do to change that. And you can see, I mean, that's an extreme example, but you can see how that can really be a hopeless spiral. And there's no action to be done. There's nothing to be done. And that's part of why it's so unhelpful. But if we have a growth mindset, we can see those mistakes as external, limited, and temporary. And that is often a much more helpful mindset. So if you struggled with the days of the week activity and you thought, this activity is a challenge for me. It's not about you, it's about this activity, right? This activity is a challenge for me. I know that time pressured stuff can be hard for me, but I know that I can succeed at this kind of thing when I have the right amount of time. It's limited. This situation is difficult, but not all situations are difficult for me. And it's temporary. If I spent 10 minutes practicing this, I bet I could ace it. And you can see how that is a much more productive mindset when you perceive things as external, limited, and temporary. So I want us to try and think about this for ourselves. And if you feel comfortable, I would love for you to share it in the chat window. I'm going to go through an example for myself of how a moment in your life or your work could be interpreted through a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. So say some examples you could interpret is, say you didn't get this promotion you wanted. Say this program didn't have as many people using it as you were hoping. Say you didn't get, you ran a public meeting and the feedback was negative. Any kind of negative feedback, you're going to kind of put it through these two different processes. So I'm going to give an example and I'll put it in the chat window of this literally happened to me a couple years ago. I had left a show downtown and I was with my partner and we were driving down the highway at night home from the show. And one of us in the car, we heard a car horn. Beep, beep. We heard a car horn. Okay. So that's information, often kind of negative feedback, a car horn. And one of us tended to have a fixed mindset. So they saw the car horn as personal, pervasive, and permanent. So they think that car is definitely honking at us. It's personal. They think we're they think we're bad drivers. These Austin drivers generally are terrible. Everybody's honking, everybody's going crazy, and the city is, everybody's moving to the city and making traffic awful, and we just need to leave this town. This is terrible, right? You can imagine this kind of escalation. Whereas one of us was having this growth mindset. Okay, the car horn honked. What's going on? Oh, my lights are off. And I'm driving down the highway at night. Okay, I can fix that. It's temporary. I'm going to switch those lights on. And I think this happened because this doesn't normally happen to me, but it happened because I went to park in a garage and I turned my lights off when I went to park in the garage. So it's limited. So it's external, limited, and temporary. So it stays contained. I'm able to solve it and respond to it. Can anybody, I would like you to share yours in the chat window. Think of a situation that you could interpret as either with a fixed or a growth mindset. Or is there anything coming to mind that anybody could turn on their microphone and kind of share an experience and what mindset they might have had or could have had?
I'll share with you. I'll start off. So I received my evaluation last year, and with expectations of getting a sizable salary increase. Okay, so so in other words, I got the evaluation. It was great, and my expectations was 100% raised. So I had a fixed mindset, and I didn't get that, which was unrealistic. But anyway, so my mindset was to say the evaluation was really, really great. When I go into the growth part of it, it was excellent. Nice things that they said about me, did a good job, and I was blessed to get what I got, and I felt that was fortunate. So that would be mine.
I like that example, Pamela, and I think a lot of us could recognize that when you get in a good, glowing evaluation with one thing wrong, some of us with a fixed mindset might just focus on that one thing and think, well, this was a terrible evaluation.
And then I'm a horrible person.
And I'm a horrible person. I'm probably going to lose. They're going to
right.
lose my job. Right.
Right.
Yeah, that's a great example. And it sounds like, Steven says he identifies with that example as well. Does anybody else have an example of a stumbling block they might have faced that with a growth or a fixed mindset? Yvette? Oh, and then Kelly. We'll do Yvette first and then Kelly.
I was laid off. I was told there were deficiencies to be found and you are the senior in the union. And I could have really gone into a fixed mindset of, they hate me, that whatever, I'm never going to be able to find a job again. I'm terrible at all this, blah, 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 blah. Or, even when you hear it's the reason, it had nothing to do with me. It wasn't, you know what I mean? Like when they say it's not personal, trust me, it's very personal when you lose your job. Anybody who's had that happen knows that's a ridiculous thing to say. But at the same time, it wasn't because of anything I had done, except for not be hired sooner than the other girl, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And I, luckily with the support of people around me, after the implosion, was able to move to a growth mindset. It was like, too bad for them, sorry for them. Let me go, let me see what's out there to learn. Let me go look where I might want to work, that kind of thing. I decided to get my national board certification in coaching. So, and it wasn't a temporary. So,
that's excellent, Yvette. And it's a great example of something we're going to be covering a little further on in the workshop about having a comeback story. Oftentimes those setbacks are just the beginning of a comeback story, which can really help us through difficult times. Kelly, did you have an example? Oh wait, we can't hear you. You're on audio as well. Let me make sure that your audio is okay. I'm going to ask you to unmute your phone. So you're going to have to Your phone's probably on mute and you have to click. Oh, it's happening. Try it.
No, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, it's working. Well, for me, like I'm the diabetes education coordinator for our tribe. Our whole program was like community interaction. Like you used to couldn't catch me, in my office. And with COVID, you can't do that anymore. And I'm not a very tech savvy person. So my first thought process was, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to reach my patients. I don't know how to interact with my patients if I can't have an event, put my eyes on them, interact with them, be in the same room with them. Growth was, there's more than one way to do this. And I just have to reach out and ask for help. Because we have a lot of really tech smart people in the office, that are smarter at this than I am, and they're willing to help me. And so rather than just run into the brick wall, maybe I just need to ask for help. They're also younger than me. I don't know if the two correlate. They're more tech savvy and younger, but we're trying to make it work, and we're trying to, continue to help patients. But when COVID first started, I just felt like I had ran into a wall. And,
Right.
I'm going to be honest, I had a little animosity and I'm a nurse. And so I understand that, COVID is real and very dangerous, but at everybody telling me, no, I couldn't do this. No, I couldn't have that event. Well, how do you want me to do my job? And then I realized I'm going to have to come up with something else.
That's fantastic. So you kind of went from collapse to create in your mindset. And I think a lot of us have experienced that, where we're in a job and we know what we're doing and we're doing a good job, and then suddenly there's reorg or the job changes, whatever, and this new thing that you're in is like, you're not great at this job and you have to learn and grow and become great at it. And it sounds like you did, which is a fantastic pivot. And the faster we can kind of get into that mindset, the quicker we can thrive. There's a couple things in chat here. Susan said, program was not well received and taken personal, but it's temporary and will improve next time. So both fixed and growth. Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. We want to kind of just knowing okay, that's that fixed mindset again. Okay. That's not going to be helping me. How could I think about this? How can I make it external, limited, and temporary? David says, moving to a new place, knowing the challenge of learning the way around, new job, meeting new people is tough, but doable. Knowing it's all dependent on stepping out in faith, moving forward, meeting things head on. Yeah, David, that's great. Another way I like to think of growth mindset is like a traveler mindset, right? Of someone who's, if you're traveling in a new place or a new country, of course you're not going to know all the things and how everything works, but you're curious, you're humble, you're open, you're interested, and that can really help. All right, let's keep going forward. I want to share with you all, I think y'all are getting this so nicely. I want to share with you the improv rules that I teach with almost every group that I work with. I have an improv comedy school here in Austin. I work with all kinds of business and organization, and I teach them these three things. So number one rule of improv is have fun. It's really important to have fun. It's important to have fun when we're trying to learn, like in a workshop. We're having fun. We're going to pay more attention. We're going to learn more, retain more, come back more. It's important to have fun at our jobs because we are there so much of the time. And, it's going to help us perform better, be more productive, be more creative. And fun is contagious. So when other people see us having fun, they're going to be having fun and join in on the fun. So fun is a real primary value of the work that I do, and not a hard sell, but rule number 2 is a little less popular, which is dare to fail. So in improv, mistakes are expected and encouraged as a sign of risk taking. We like to say in improv, if you're not messing up, you're not doing it right. If you're not messing it up, you're not doing it right. Now, of course, that means there should be some mistakes. There should be some errors. That's a sign that there's growth and learning and risk taking. If you're messing up all the time, you might not be doing it right. You got to mess up some of the time. And when we do mess up, we want to use rule number 3, which is be a good sport. So let me ask in the chat window, what do bad sports do when they mess up? Anybody know any bad sports? Anybody watch professional athletes? What do bad sports do when they mess up? They blame. Oh, yeah. They quit. They take their ball and they go home. What else do bad sports do? They make excuses. They pout. Dealing with my 10-year-old currently, yeah. They throw a fit. Maybe this will help you with your 10-year-old. We'll see. They lose a temper. They throw things. They get violent. I like that they get violent, but yeah, I think you meant violent. Words or action, throw a fit. Yes. Okay. Yeah. They blame. They minimize. They excuse. They get mad at themselves. They get mad at other people, and they quit. They take their ball and they go home, and they make it not fun for everybody. So let's have the opposite. What do good sports do when they mess up? What do good sports do when they mess up? They laugh at themselves. They learn. They laugh it off. They try again. They apologize. They take responsibility. They're accountable for it. They admit it. They move forward. Try again and don't give up. They ask for help. Yes. Great. So this is very important in improv because we're constantly messing up and constantly recovering from it. So we have a specific technique we use in improv to help us be more resilient when we're on the spot and under pressure. And it's something called the failure bow. And this is going to be our next activity. So in a moment, we're all going to practice this. I'm going to demonstrate. We put a smile on our face to let everybody know we're okay. We lift our arms up in the air to take responsibility. That was me. I did that. And we say these magic freeing words, I failed. And then everybody applauds us. Hooray! You took a risk. You tried something new. You're owning it. You're learning from it. Well done. So let's practice that now. Just the physicality of it. So everybody turn on your cameras if they're not on at the moment. Put a smile on your face. Lift your arms up in the air and say, I failed.
I failed.
I failed. And then applause, applause, applause. Yes, good. It's a very freeing thing because a lot of times when we fail, we tend to hide and cover and collapse, right? But if we're hiding and covering and collapse, we can't try again. We can't learn. We can't grow. So we want to try and make this, tell our bodies we're okay, so we can be more resilient. So what we're going to do now in the head to the chat window is we're going to share a mistake or failure. I know this is recorded, so just share one you feel okay going on record with. And we're going to share it in the chat window, and then we're all going to take a collective bow and kind of release those mistakes. I'll share mine out loud while people are sharing in the chat window. So I have a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old. I give them these little, like at breakfast today, they had a bagel and an apple and a little drinkable probiotic yogurt. This is what my 7-year-old does a few weeks ago. He goes, Mommy, say the word jug over and over again, but loud. And I'm like, what? He goes, chant the word jug. And I said, okay. Jug, 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 jug. He starts drinking his probiotic yogurt all in one gulp. And I'm like, mistakes have been made. I don't even know where that came from or what happened. So please go to the chat window, share a mistake or failure. It could be something small like, the lights in your you left the lights on your car and your battery died. That happened to me last week. Or it could be something big. I'm in foreclosure. I'm on my 5th marriage. Whatever it is, as long as it's true for you, you share something, and we're going to applaud you and give you about. Yes, Yvette, at least it was yogurt. Tracy, you have mom brain right now, so it's making mistakes every minute. Like this webinar, I thought it was not work. Yes, we saw you log in early, Tracy. We were like, what happened? But you made it. You got here, which is fantastic. Oh, yeah. COVID divorce. Yes. That is not uncommon. Tracy was ready. Tracy was ready. Yeah. What else? Trust me, it feels so good to just that one you've been holding on to just let it go. Be like, I did a reply all to my whole organization. I forgot to feed my cat when I went on vacation. I don't know what it is. Tell us. Share a few more failures with us in the chat window. Oh, Chris, backed into my daughter's car in the driveway. I hate those. Denise let the cat out and didn't tell he was outside. He ended up being outside all night and the next day in the snow. Is your kitty okay, Denise? Yeah, okay. It looks like you're in your office. Otherwise, I would ask you to show us this kitty. All right. Well, let's forgot about a homework assignment until the last day. Yes, been there. And notice when you read these mistakes or failures, notice how your often response is so much compassion. Of course, totally human, been there, done that, no big deal. We want to have that same compassion for ourselves when we have that perspective on our own mistakes. Left my trunk open all night. That meant all kinds of fun surprises in there. All right, let's take our collective failure bow to release these failures. Everybody, smiles on your face, arms in the air. Say, I failed. I failed. And applause, applause, applause. When we do that, it enables us to release them instead of holding on to them. It enables us to get curious and learn from them instead of trying to hide and cover them. And it saves us a lot of energy. Yeah, Kelly says, grace for myself is much harder than grace for others. And that's always a good trick to just think, what would I say to, if this was happening to my best friend, what would I say to them? And just say that to yourself. You know, it's not easy. So you have to be kind of intentional about it. Let's keep moving forward. So we're changing our relationship to failure to help develop that growth mindset. It's not about avoiding mistakes. Mistakes are going to happen. It's about how we respond to them. You know, they're all, yes, Kristen Neff, Selfcompassion. Yeah. And she's actually out of the University of Texas where I am, which is exciting. So we're going to continue on to this buoyancy. How can we bounce back more quickly and more successfully from the setbacks, from the chaos, from the uncertainty? And this is a quick list from, it was a great New York Times article a few years back about 7 evidence-based ways to increase resilience and growth mindset mid-career. And we've already got to practice some of these, like this failure bow as bounce back, but we're going to go into a few more of these to help, like rewriting our story and not personalizing it. So that's that thing of perceiving it as external, limited, and temporary. Another thing that we can, and there will be, there's a handout, a handout that'll be sent to y'all following up on these resources as well. So don't stress too much about writing everything down. Yeah, so I like this quote a lot. The best predictor of success is how you explain failure to yourself. The best predictor of success is how you explain failure to yourself. So we're going to take a moment to remember your comebacks. Remember your comebacks. And this is going to be a storytelling exercise. Yvette already nailed this. She didn't even know we were going to do this, and she already told us her comeback story. And we're going to use a great tool that we use all the time in improv called the story spine. This is a great tool for a lot of things. This can be great about telling your brand story, telling your story when you're at a job interview, creating improvised bedtime stories. This is a wonderful tool. They use this at Pixar to help develop stories. And this was developed by a man named Ken Adams, who's an improviser. And it's a really simple structure. And what you might notice, so these are the beginnings of every line of a simple 9-line story. And what you might notice about the structure is it makes sure that each line is connected to the next. So the story flows. And it also gives us a beginning, middle, and end. When you use it, you can have as many and because of that as you like, but I'll stick to 3 for the time being. So I'm going to share with you all a comeback story of mine from my work using the story spine. And then I'm going to go quiet for a few minutes and invite you all to type your own story into the chat window. using the story spine, your own comeback story. So you might already start thinking about, have you come back from losing a job, come back from an injury or illness, come back from a breakup or a divorce, come back from a move, come back from, there's all kinds of things we can come back from. And when we have a comeback story, it can help fortify us as we encounter new difficulties. So here is my comeback story. Once upon a time, I had an improv comedy school here in East Austin. And every day, I got to pay my friends and pay myself to teach improv classes and do improv shows. And it was so much fun. Until one day, I had a baby. And because of that, while I was on maternity leave, all my business dried up and nobody was signing up for my classes. And because of that, I was so exhausted and sad and angry, I was ready to shut down my business. And because of that, I was out on a walk with my mom, pushing my baby in a stroller, and told my friend Karen that I was going to be shutting down the business. And she said, "No, you're not. We're going to go have coffee and figure it out." Until finally, with Karen's advice, she helped me find a new location for my improv school, where I reopened a year later. And ever since then, my business was better than ever. The moral of the story is you have to let go of your vision for what is to able to see what could be. So that's one of my comeback stories. And I want to invite y'all to write your own comeback story. You could do this a couple ways. You can write it in the chat window. Just don't hit enter until the whole story is done. Otherwise, we'll just get bits and pieces of your story. Or you can write it on another program in your computer, like a notepad or an email, and copy and paste it once it's done. It could be a personal comeback story. It could be a work comeback story. If you have a struggle, but you don't know how it ends, that's okay. You're just not in the end of the story yet. But we're going to share ones that are complete. Is there any questions before I go quiet and let y'all write your stories? Okay. I'm going to go quiet for about 4 minutes and give you time to write your story. And when you're done typing your story in the chat window or pasting in the chat window, hit enter and share it with everyone. If you're still working on your story, keep typing. We love to hear it. If you have finished typing your story, please read the amazing stories people are sharing in the chat window. We'll give it a little bit more time. If you're still writing your story, please keep typing. Please share it with us. If you haven't got a chance to read some of these stories, please do. It's always, such a stunning moment in the training when people share these stories. The value of this exercise is, one, as we're talking about thriving through change, of having your own comeback story. Having that in your back pocket can really help you feel confident and brave when you're facing new challenges. So for me, when the pandemic hit and I have an in-person training business that just disappeared in a matter of weeks, I wasn't freaking out. Maybe I should have been freaking out, but I wasn't freaking out because I go, I've done this before. I've built it all back up before, and I'll do it again. It happened when I went on maternity leave. It happened during COVID. It'll happen again. And knowing that just helped me, instead of going through panic and grief and all that stuff, I could just be like, either, okay, here's my plan. I'm going to pivot and focus on other kinds of work, or I'm going to wait this out and apply for these loans or what, it definitely can help you to have, these are very inspirational stories, amazing comebacks. So take this story, have it in your back pocket. Have a couple of them, have several of them for different situations in your life, and it can help you build resilience and strength. It can also help you as a leader. Sharing these stories in your community makes you approachable, makes you, vulnerable, makes you human. And this is also, I think, a great empathy building activity. You show up to a Zoom with 30 random people and you don't know them and their stories, but everybody has stories like this. Everybody's struggled and come back from things. And I think knowing that can also help us when we have that compassion fatigue that we can have in the caring fields. The story spine is yours to use. Write more stories, tell more stories, stories to yourself, to your family, to your community. It's a great tool you can use. And we're gonna keep moving. So thank you all for being vulnerable and sharing those stories. Amazing. Well, actually, before we keep moving, does anybody want to turn on their mic and say anything about reading these stories or writing those stories? What are you noticing? What are you thinking? What are you feeling? Yeah, Kelly's seeing the resilience. We rock. Yeah, we're awesome. That's the thing. Yeah. Okay, great. Let's keep going because I do want to show y'all some more tools. So we want to take stress breaks. So we want to push ourselves to stretch and grow, but we also want to have times of recovery. And this is going to be a great time. We're over an hour into our workshop. We're going to do our 7th inning stretch. So this is a great time to move your body. If you want to get up out of your chair, I'm going to do that. Get up out of your chair. get the blood flowing, roll your shoulders, roll your neck, do whatever it would feel good to feel alive and awake again. We need that oxygen going to our brains to do the good thinking and learning that we want to do. So really important to take care of your body and give that break. You can't just be thinking hard all the time. And we are going straight through. So of course, if you need to take a bio break, do that. Take care of yourself at any moment. And one of the resources that I'll be sending you after this session is, this is something actually I got from a new mothers group that I found was so amazing, which was filling out of this. You can fill out this worksheet of what fills your cup. What can you do if you only have 5 minutes, which sometimes is all you have when you're a new mom, to recharge? What's something you can do? If you have 10 minutes, if you have 30 minutes, if you have an hour, what's great is if you fill this out, put it on the fridge, then when you have that moment, that time, instead of spending that time thinking about what you could do that would help you recover, you can get right to it, because we know we don't have those big chunks of time very often. So let's share that in the chat window. What are your favorite micro breaks? So what's something kind of 1 to 5 minutes that you know for you can really help you recharge, recover, replenish? One of the things that, because we need a plan for rest and relaxation, just like we need a plan for everything else. Listen to a song, do a guided meditation video, a deep breathing, pet a cat, yes. And you know, there's research all about these things, that they really do change our body chemistry. One of the best things I got from that moms group was drink a whole glass of water, like a whole glass of water. You can do that in a minute and you will feel different. Close eyes and take some deep breaths, hands on chest and stomach, lay on back. Yeah. Change your, just getting to see something from further away, like, there's research about that. Being able to see the horizon is really good for our bodies and our minds. Read a positive message. Yeah. I like to laugh. Sometimes I'll watch a funny video. Go quickly around the office and say hi and spread some cheer. Yeah. So I encourage you, you'll get this handout, fill it out with ideas about what could fill your cup, and when you just have these little times allotted so that you can really take advantage of them when they appear. So we want to balance that. We want to balance rest and relaxation with getting out of your comfort zone. There's a biology to this. Your stress hormone systems will become less responsive to stress, so you can handle stress better. Live your life in a way that you get the skills that enable you to handle stress. And that's a fine line, right? We don't want to go overboard with the stress so we flip our lids, but we want to kind of be exposed to stress and recover, so it strengthens our ability to be more resilient. That's part of why improv, which is mildly stressful but also fun and releasing, kind of can help build that resilience. We've been talking a lot today about failures and mistakes, and it's also just as important to celebrate the wins and practice optimism, looking for what's good. There's some research about how high-performing teams give 5.6 positive comments for every negative comment. So, whereas for poorly performing teams, it's it's a lot less. It's 0.36 positive comments. So it's great to build a positive foundation and share a win. So I'm going to invite you to head to the chat window, and we're going to share a win, and we're going to cheer each other on when we get it. It could be a small win, like, I went for a walk 3 days last week, and that's a win for me. Or maybe it's something big, like I've landed a big project or a promotion. I got a boyfriend. Whatever your win is, we want you to share it, and we will celebrate it with you. Let's see, what are my It's interesting how it takes a second. You're like, wait, what are my wins? Oh, I got to be more mindful of that. Wow, Jason got a 10,000 private donation to his program last week. Woo! Yes. Yes. All right. Amanda recently started a job that I'm loving so far after having a rough 1.5 years at a bad job. Well done, Amanda. Congratulations. Yvette got a recent review that was above average. Not surprising to me. I got up this morning. I have a job that I love, a car to get here, and lunch plans. Yes, Kelly. Just be grateful for those everyday things. Oh, Brianna got 100 on our first health coaching exam. I've been consistent with exercise and meeting my fitness goals. Well done, Heather. I showered last night with a toddler and a 4-month. Oh, yes. That is a win. Showering, that's the good stuff. Yeah, I got my kids Hanukkah presents they actually liked. Usually my kids, it's like giving them presents is torture. They're always disappointed. So I was happy they liked the presents. Yesterday, my town approved a construction project we've been working on for months. Well done, David. I often encourage groups that I work with to, have a time. Oftentimes at group meetings, we talk about what are the problems and what we're working on. Just as important to have like, what are the wins this week or what are the wins this month? What are the successes? Let's go around and let's celebrate them. Let's acknowledge them. Don't just move forward because something good has happened. Let's take a moment to celebrate and realize how much we've accomplished. It's very motivating. It makes you want to do more. All right, I want to do, Jasmine, I want to do a time check. How much more time do I have? So I think I have 10 more minutes, but I have like a flex of 20 minutes after that. Is that correct?
That's correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay, great.
You're good.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you, Jasmine. Jasmine has been amazing at coordinating all of this programs and Zooms and all these things. So thank you. Okay. So we've been talking about mindset a lot and building resilience. And I want to get into a little bit of being action oriented, which is one of the fun things about improv. Improvisers begin things, they don't know where they're going to end. Improvisers start things, and can do that with confidence. And that can be really hard. Some of us like to know exactly what is going to happen before we begin. But the world has been changing and speeding up in a way that's very often not possible. Things are happening so fast, you can't, if you're going to wait until you know everything that's going to happen, you're never going to start. So sometimes we just have to start and figure it out as we go. And that's what this section is going to be about. This is Del Close, an improv guru, says you fall and then you figure out what to do on the way down. You jump out of the plane and you build your parachute on the way out. That's the kind of improv mindset. This is exactly what I just said. Okay, so to do that, we're going to go, we're going to go into, let's try this. I think we're going to go into breakout rooms because I think it would be fun. We're going to do this activity. So first I'm going to demonstrate it here in the main room, and then I'm going to send y'all to breakout rooms to practice this activity. Is there anybody here that is feeling brave and courageous and willing to try this activity with me on screen? I feel like Tamika, she's ready. She's excited. No, I misread that. Okay. Who's ready? Jason, excellent. Jason, will you turn on your microphone?
Sure.
Awesome. How are you doing today?
I am an 8 out of 10.
I appreciate the specificity. So we're going to play this first letter, last letter game. So you and I are going to have a conversation, just Shayna and Jason talking, except we have this rule. The last letter of whatever you say is going to be the first letter of my response. And the last letter of whatever I say is going to be the first letter of your response. Okay. We'll go
Okay.
slow at first so everybody can follow along. So all I need you to do right now is give an opening line to a conversation, something you might say to kind of chat me up.
Hi, how are you?
Great. That ends with the letter U. So my response is going to begin with the letter U. I like you using right off the screen. I like that. Understandably, I am excited to be working with this group. That ends with the letter
P.
P. So Jason's response is going to begin with the letter P.
People in this group are amazing.
Goodness, the comeback stories were so impressive.
Each one of them was unique and special.
Love working with people that are willing to be vulnerable and share their stories.
Stories like the ones we heard today are cool.
Everybody give Jason a hand. Okay, give me a thumbs up if you understand the game. Okay, great. So I'm going to put y'all in breakout rooms of... I'm going to put you in rooms of 4 people. No, I'm going to put you in breakout rooms of 3 people. All you need to do at the beginning is to figure out who goes first, second, and third. You can just go in alphabetical order, but you need to know what order you go in so you know what letter you have to use, okay? So you're going to go to breakout rooms. You're going to go in alphabetical order. If your breakout room is like empty, like I sent somebody there who's not here anymore, who stepped away or whatever, just come back to the main room and you can play with us in the main room, or I'll send you to a new breakout room. It's a little bit risky because we got to, okay. So I'm going to stop this share. I'm going to plan is there any questions or anything before we go to the breakout rooms? Okay, you can do this with 2, you can do this with 3 people. I'm going to open the rooms. You should get a link to click on to join your room and play first letter, last letter. It's good to turn on your cameras and your microphones once you get to your breakout rooms. Let's see what happens here. Okay, I'm going to move this person to room. Wait, no. Nope, wait, I did that wrong. Okay, I'm going to move this person. There we go. All right, I think that's working. Is there anybody in here that needs... No, it's just us. Okay, I'm going to broadcast our message. Turn on your... Okay. Everything going all right?
Yes.
Okay.
It's going really good.
Good. Yeah, I think we're getting some good participation. Yeah, it's always that. I mean, we have 30 people and then maybe you get 10 that are like...
Yeah. So I was going to say we have a strong 10 who are...
Yeah. That's all you need.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to let them go for a couple minutes.
Tina, do you know if the breakout sessions get recorded too?
They do not, as far as I understand.
Oh,
But we can play first letter, last letter in here.
I was just wondering about what they were doing, and that would
You
be
can hop in and look, but
Yeah.
if this is being recorded, we should play a little first letter or last letter.
Sure, we can if you'd like to.
Okay. All right, we're going in alphabetical order. So it's Jasmine first. You're going to start, and then it's going to be Kaylin, Keisha, and Shayna.
This webinar has been amazing.
Goodness, it really has.
Shayna is doing an awesome job.
But are y'all just saying that because I'm here? What will you say when I leave the room?
My team does not say anything they don't mean.
Never will we ever say anything we don't mean. You're really doing a great job.
Best believe we're always going to be honest.
Tell it like it is. That's the kind of people you are. All right, good job, everybody. Good job. All right, I'm gonna let the breakout rooms know. I'm gonna wrap up your conversations. Good. I just hope there was enough. Sometimes people, they're in a room all by themselves. I think this phone person is, and if they're on the phone, they don't know how to leave the breakout room. Oh well, that happens. Most people got a good experience. Okay, I'm going to close the rooms. So people should be back in about 30 seconds. Welcome back. Welcome back. We should have everybody back in just a few moments. How did it go? Head to the chat window and tell me how it went. It's fun, but it's hard, right? It's harder than you think it will be. Heather, did your partner do a good job? It's fun and challenging. There's a couple challenges going on. One is that you're trying to talk about the weather and you get the letter L and you kind of have to problem solve that. But there's another challenge that I think is more interesting, which is that this activity disrupts verbal planning. You cannot think ahead about what you're going to say because you don't know what letter you have. So it forces you to listen all the way until someone is done talking. And for many of us, that is an unfamiliar experience, right? We listen, we get the gist of what they're going to say, and we start thinking about what we're going to say in response. Now, why do we do that? Well, I think it goes back to that relationship with failure. We do that because we don't want to say something dumb or mess up or look stupid. So we think ahead so that we can plan and prepare. But this activity shows you that there's time after someone's done talking to formulate your response. And we can actually let go of a lot of that thinking is actually overthinking. It's unnecessary energy that we can instead use on focusing on the other person. And for those of us who are public facing, working with our tribal communities, it can really shift our focus away from what we're going to say to what they're saying and what's going on with them. So this is a great exercise. It's a little pocket game. You can play it anytime. Nobody has to know. And when you're like, I am tuning out of this conference call. I am not paying attention to this meeting. This is important. I want to be here. I'm going to play first letter, last letter, just for a moment to make sure I'm really listening in. So this gives us a little practice on it also gives us practice on speaking before we actually necessarily know exactly what we're going to say. You have the letter R and you're like, reading is an important, you got to follow it out. And that's a fun way of being. And that's kind of what we're talking about here, is being action oriented, starting things. So this improv tip is that a lot of problems can't be thought through. You need feedback to solve a problem. You can't get feedback if you don't do something. My improv teacher, Keith Johnson, talks about, Jasmine and I can get in a conversation and I say, there is a red car parked outside. And Jasmine's going to say, no, there is a yellow car parked outside. And I say, no, when I came in, I saw it, it was red. And she says, no, it's been there all day, it's yellow. And we could talk about that forever. But what should we do instead? Go out there.
Just
agree to disagree. Let's go out. Let's just go. Let's just go look.
Jasmine will do that for real.
Let's just go outside and see what's there. Right? This is one of those things where we can't talk through the solution. We got to do something. It'll be a just shorter conversation. Let's just go find out. Right? No need to go back and forth and discuss it. This is going to be our last, let's see. Yeah. Well, I don't know if we have time for this last activity. Okay, we're not going to do this activity. I'm just going to explain to you, but normally we make some paper airplanes, and oftentimes our process when we make paper airplanes is we Google it and we YouTube it and we study it and we research it and we plan it and we make a paper airplane. But we would try normally an iterative process where we just have a minute to make a paper airplane, and we're going to go fast. We're going to try a design. We're going to test it. And then we're going to adjust it and try another one, and just really try and get in that mindset of like, let's just see, what can we do? What can we try? What can we pilot? What can we test without having to go through a lot of thinking and planning and conversation? Because oftentimes we can get stuck. I'm obviously a planner. I've got a slide deck. We had prep meetings. I'm not against planning, but it's not always the right tool for the situation. Sometimes we just got to try stuff and be okay with it messing up and getting that feedback, and we'll learn from as you go. A good example of this is bicycles. Bicycles are great teachers. Why are bicycles great teachers? Can anybody turn on their microphone and tell me why are bicycles great teachers?
You are not going to get it the first time. You need to keep trying and fail several times before you're successful.
Excellent, Chris. Yes. Failure, falling is an inherent part of learning to ride a bicycle, because the bicycle gives you timely and accurate feedback about how you are doing. If you're not doing it right, it doesn't go, good job, keep going. It goes, eat the pavement, and you know it's not right. And if you are doing a good job, it propels you forward and lets you roll, right? Bicycles are great teachers. Can you read a book to learn to ride a bike? No, you got to do it. You got to try it. And so, as we get older, sometimes we can get less and less likely to kind of do stuff and try stuff. And this VUCA time, this chaotic COVID time, it's a time for experimentation, for innovation, for iteration. I can't tell you, we were doing the COVID policies for my school, and we had like 10 different versions that kept changing. We just got to do that. So in improv, we like to say, hold on tightly, let go lightly, right? Don't get attached. You're constantly creating ideas and discarding them as they quickly become obsolete. And I want to talk about one more thing as we're wrapping up, and I want to have some time for Q&A, is the cycle of growth. We've talked a lot about stretching and growing and growth mindset and all that kind of stuff. And this is a piece that I've added more recently, which is about rest. So y'all know what it's like. When you lift weights, how do you build muscle? Does anybody lift weights? Can anybody explain us how muscles are built?
So through progressive overload, and in terms of exercise and fitness, failure absolutely is important. You have to fail at a specific weight in order to know what that looks like to be able to stimulate enough muscle tissue to then work up to that and break through that failure. So failure is always a positive thing. And
yeah, I had a friend that loved weightlifting. He's like, I love it because you're supposed to fail every time. So, and what's happening when you're maxing out that weight is you're putting little tears in your muscle, right? You're damaging it. You're not ripping it off, damaging it, but you're putting little bits of damage in it. And then when you rest, your body knows to rebuild that muscle. So we need, and resiliency is a muscle, right? So we stress ourselves by trying new things and putting ourselves in new situations. And then we need to fuel ourselves and rest to be able to build that muscle. If you're just stressing the muscle, it will get injured and you will tear. If you don't rest and recover, if you don't fuel yourself properly, you will hurt yourself. So we have to use that cycle. All of us are still already exercising, but we are stressing ourselves, working hard, trying hard, but we also need to fuel ourselves and rest. And you need to rest. This became very clear to me. I was going to a gym where you could see your heart rate and your calories and all that stuff on the wall every time you worked out. And anytime I didn't get enough sleep, I could never get that bar to go high enough. Rest is connected to all of this stuff, and you have to rest. I'm a huge fan of something called the NAP Ministry out of my hometown of Atlanta. They're a great resource to check out. They're the only ones on Instagram telling me to rest. Everyone else is telling me to do stuff. And they're like, why are you doing all that stuff? Just rest. So here's a few of my favorite memes from them. But it's a very deep work, not just in self-care, but in anti-racist practices and all that stuff. So I highly recommend the NAP Ministry as a resource. And I know we're close on time. So the last thing I would do is a body scan, but I think we'll just kind of pause there and take a little time for Q&A and connections to the work and see if we can wrap up before noon. So we covered a lot of stuff. We did a lot of activities. Y'all were fantastic at participating at many of them. So if you have a question, feel free to type it in the chat, to turn on your microphone. Anything, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you, Heather. I'm curious if you don't have a question, I would love to hear about what do you see the application for your work? So I'm an expert at this stuff. You're an expert at your job. Can you talk about how can you use the stuff we've talked about today in what you do day to day? I've learned you have to count to a slow 8 when you ask a big question like that. Kelly, a great reminder to bounce back. Okay. Denise, Megan, Tamika, do y'all have any insights you want to share? Okay, great. Susan, I feel we can use this in our diabetic class using the story spine for example sharing. Yeah, it can be a way to kind of help contain that sharing and let people share stories without it taking over the whole session and people kind of framing maybe in their resilience from their diabetes diagnosis. That's really interesting. Tamika, not to look at failure as a bad thing. Right. It's a human thing. It's congratulations, you're not a robot. Also, the exercise can be used in classrooms. Yeah, hopefully y'all saw some ways I used engagement on Zoom and in the classroom. These can be just fun icebreaker exercises, as well as growth mindset and resiliency exercises. David says, will help to manage tasks and the occasional challenging person. Thank you, David. Excellent. We can end on a bonus tip, which is our last kind of tool for increasing resiliency, which is gratitude, attitude of gratitude. So let's head to the chat window and share a gratitude. I am grateful for Region 4 Public Health for sponsoring this workshop. I am grateful to Pamela and Keisha and Kaylin and Jasmine for helping coordinate all of this work. We had several meetings and they really helped prepare me and educate me, and I'm grateful for that. Grateful for Zoom and internet and all these things that make this magic possible. Oh yeah, Chris is grateful for the chance to interact with folks and learn at the same time. Tamika's grateful to attend the training. Yes, Kelly, grateful to USET. Thank you for brought this to us. And Laura mentioned earlier, the other training that I do a lot for Region 4 Public Health is persuasive communication, which can be really useful, whether it's trying to get people to take vaccines or trying to get kids to clean their rooms. And we all need persuasive communication. Grateful for waking up to make more mistakes. Excellent. Well, thank you all for your participation, your ideas, your vulnerability, your insights, your laughter. Always so grateful. Y'all are what makes the magic happen. So I'm grateful. Let's give a hand to everyone here. Big hand. And I'll hand it back over to Jasmine for any closing duties.
Okay, actually, it's going to be me.
Oh, sorry, Pamela. Thank you.
No, it's okay. Not a problem. We want to extend special thanks or extend it to Shayna for her training presentation, Thriving Through Change. This was a very interactive, thought-provocative presentation, and we all have tools that we can take back that are useful to us. And we really like the participatory approach. And that's exactly what we're looking for, Shayna, and you did a magnificent job. I would like to say, please remember to complete the evaluation by clicking the link in the chat box. Your feedback to us is very important to us. And we really, we will also be sending this evaluation out via email for completion as well. We ask that everyone complete an evaluation because we're anxious to hear what you liked and what you disliked and some additional topics that you might want us to cover in the future. Again, thank you very much for your attendance and your participation. We look forward to seeing you again in the very near future. And we thank you all for all of your hard work that you do throughout Indian country. Does anyone else have any additional comments that you'd like to unmic for, or is anything you'd like to say at this point? Again, thank you very much. Have a wonderful day. Just complete the evaluation and we'll see you later.